In China, right now, you can walk into a showroom and drive out in a brand new electric car for about $10,000. Real car. 4 doors, 4 seats, a battery from the biggest battery and car company on Earth, 6 airbags on the version an American engineering firm tore apart. And their verdict, from a former GM chief engineer, rattled Detroit. In America, the cheapest new electric car you can buy is $28,995. The average new EV transaction, $56,238 per Kelley Blue Book. Same planet, same year. A $46,000 gap between what exists and what you're allowed to have. The short answer is a 100% tariff, a federal software ban most people have never heard of, and crash rules the car has never been tested against. But the short answer is the least interesting part of this story, because before we're done, I'm going to do the math out loud on what this car would actually cost in your driveway. And I promise you, the number surprises people in both directions. 3 things planted. 1. The math. Hold your fantasy and your outrage until we run it. Both get complicated. 2. There's a rule, not a tariff, a rule, that keeps this car illegal even for a buyer willing to pay double, and almost no coverage mentions it. 3. Here's the twist ending. You can't buy the Chinese car, but there's a very good chance a Chinese battery is already sitting inside an American one, maybe yours. All 3 coming. Let's meet the car. Quick honesty framework, because this one's different from my usual fix videos. This is a story, and it runs through a genuinely contested political fight about tariffs. So here are my rules. Every number gets a named source on screen. Chinese prices are converted at roughly 6.8 yuan to the dollar, so treat them as approximate. Where the experts disagree, and on tariffs, they truly do. I'm giving you the strongest version of both sides and declaring no winner because you're an adult and that call is yours. And everything about policy is accurate as of the day I'm recording, July 2026. This stuff moves fast, and I'll pin any updates in the comments. The BYD Seagull. A small electric hatchback, refreshed in May of this year. Official price starting at 69,900 yuan. Call it $10,300. Last year, a promotional version dropped under 8,000. And this May, BYD added an optional laser radar driver assist package that makes it the first car under $15,000 anywhere on Earth with LiDAR on the roof. This is not vaporware or a concept. China bought over 500,000 Seagulls last year alone. What do you get? A lithium iron phosphate blade battery, BYD's own design, built in-house, in 2 sizes, rated at 305 or 405 kilometers of range. Honesty checkpoint, and it matters. Those are CLTC numbers, China's test cycle, which runs roughly 30 to 35% more generous than our EPA cycle. Translated to American expectations, think somewhere around 125 to 165 miles of real range. This is a city car, a brilliant one, not a road trip machine. A rotating 12.8-inch touchscreen, modern styling, and on the unit that made it to Michigan. 6 airbags and stability control. Which brings us to Michigan. An engineering firm called Caresoft Global, they tear cars down to the last bolt for automaker clients, imported a Seagull and dissected it. The man leading the review, Terry Wojciechowski, spent decades at General Motors, including as chief engineer on their full-size trucks. This is not a TikToker with a pry bar. His verdict on the record: the Seagull is, quote, a clarion call for the rest of the auto industry, a significant event, and, quote, things will have to change in some radical ways in order to be able to compete. His team found the car, quote, efficiently done, real quality, not corner cutting, and Caresoft's CEO concluded BYD likely makes money, or at worst breaks even, at that $10,000 price. Read that again. Not dumped at a loss to buy market share. Engineered, from the ground up, to be profitable at 10 grand. An American reviewer who drove an imported one put it simply: this doesn't come across as cheap. Is it a car for American roads as is? Honestly, no. And that matters for the story. The base motor makes about 75 horsepower. Top speed is limited to roughly 81 miles an hour, and the range is city car range. It's built for a market where most trips are short, urban, and charged at home or work. But that's also the point its fans make. For the second car in an American driveway, the school-run, grocery, commuter car that never leaves the county, a $12,000 to $15,000 version of this would be exactly the car millions of households keep saying nobody builds. One more voice, and it's the one that should raise your eyebrows. Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford. His public words for the Seagull, pretty damn good. His warning to the industry. If legacy automakers don't account for BYD and companies like it, 20 to 30% of their revenue is at risk. The man runs Ford, and he's telling you the $10,000 Chinese car is real. So the obvious question, why can't you have one? First, understand who built it, because the wall we're about to hit was built in response to this company. BYD. Started as a battery maker, backed for years by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and in 2025 it did something no company had done in over a decade of Tesla dominance. It outsold Tesla in pure electric vehicles. The numbers, per industry trackers: BYD, 2,256,714 battery electric cars. Tesla, 1,636,129. Add BYD's plug-in hybrids and total sales passed 4.6 million vehicles. And it's not slowing. BYD beat Tesla again in the second quarter of this year, and its overseas sales crossed 1 million cars for the first time, up 150%. How does anyone sell a profitable $10,000 EV? One word: everything. BYD makes its own batteries, the blade cells, its own chips, its own motors. When Carasoft stripped the Seagull, most parts in the car traced back to BYD itself. No supplier margins stacked on supplier margins. The battery company, the chip company, and the car company are the same company. And the blade battery deserves its own sentence, because it's the technical heart of the whole story. It's lithium iron phosphate, LFP, a chemistry that trades some range for three things American buyers would love. It's dramatically cheaper, it's famously stable, and it tolerates daily charging to 100% without the degradation anxiety. The battery is the most expensive part of any EV. Own the cheapest good battery on Earth, and the $10,000 car stops being magic and starts being arithmetic. That's the structural advantage. And as we'll see in the debate section, critics say it's not the only advantage. And they're everywhere. A new factory in Brazil started production last July. Plants running in Thailand and Uzbekistan, under construction in Hungary and Turkey. The Mexico factory plan, shelved last summer as the trade war heated up. Remember that, it matters later. And in the United States, BYD builds exactly one thing: electric buses, at a plant in Lancaster, California. Passenger cars? The company has said, repeatedly, it has no plans to enter the U.S. market. Given what you're about to hear, you'll understand why they don't bother trying. The wall has 3 layers, and most coverage only tells you about the first one. Layer 1. Tariffs. In September 2024, the Section 301 tariff on Chinese electric vehicles went to 100%. Not a typo. The import tax equals the entire price of the car. Stack on the standard 2.5% duty every imported car pays. Then stack the Section 232 tariff, 25% on imported automobiles generally, in effect since April of last year. And before anyone asks about the big Supreme Court tariff ruling from this February, yes, the court struck down a whole category of emergency tariffs, but it explicitly left Section 301 and Section 232 standing. The EV wall didn't lose a brick. Layer 2. Open loop number 2, and this is the part almost nobody covers. Even if a company or a buyer said fine, we'll pay the 100+%, the car would still be effectively banned. In January 2025, the Commerce Department finalized what's called the Connected Vehicle Rule. Modern cars are computers with cameras, microphones, GPS, and over-the-air update pipes, and this rule prohibits vehicle connectivity software from China or Russia starting with model year 2027 and the hardware a few years after. It goes further. It bars China-linked manufacturers from selling connected vehicles in the U.S. at all from model year 2027, even if the car were assembled in Ohio. The government's stated reason is national security. Who controls the software controls the cameras, the microphones, and the location data. Agree or disagree? We'll do both in a minute. Understand what it means. This isn't a tax you can outbid. From model year 2027, it's a locked door. Layer 3. The crash test question. Every car sold in America must be certified to Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, FMVSS. The Seagull has never been tested against them. Not passed, not failed, never tested. Honesty demands I say that cleanly. Anyone telling you it would sail through or that it would crumple is guessing. Certifying it would mean U.S. spec engineering, crash programs, compliance hardware. Wojciechowski's estimate for the compliance work alone was that it would add, quote, a couple $1,000s to the cost before you touch tariffs. And the loophole hunters, briefly, the famous 25-year import rule. Cars 25 years old can come in exempt from those standards. The Seagull launched in 2023. Set your calendar for roughly 2048. Mexico backdoor. Mexico just raised its own tariff on China-made cars to 50% this January. BYD's plant there is shelved, and the connected vehicle rule slams that door anyway. Canada? They actually softened, down to 6% under a quota this year. But a Canadian Seagull still can't cross into U.S. registration. There is no side door. The wall is a wall. Now the argument itself. I'm going to give you the strongest, honest version of each side, with names attached, and then I'm going to do something rare on the internet, not tell you what to think. The case for the wall. Roughly 1 million Americans work in and around the auto industry, and the people defending these restrictions say that's what's at stake. The Alliance for American Manufacturing put it in words that stuck. Letting heavily subsidized Chinese autos flood in could be, quote, an extinction-level event for the U.S. auto sector. And subsidized isn't name-calling, it's documented. The Center for Strategic and International Studies tallied $230.8 billion in Chinese government support for its EV industry between 2009 and 2023. And the researcher behind that number, Scott Kennedy, calls it a highly conservative estimate. The argument, this isn't a fair race. It's one industrial policy machine aimed at everyone else's car industry, and Europe's rapid loss of ground after opening its doors is the preview. There's an overcapacity layer too. China's factories can build far more cars than China can buy, and the defenders' fear is that surplus washing over every open market at prices no unsubsidized company can answer. Add the security case, the Commerce Department's connected vehicle rationale about data, cameras, and software control, and the union voice with the UAW backing protection, and you have a coherent, serious position. The cheap car costs more than its sticker. The case against the wall. It starts with your wallet. The average new car in America transacts near $50,000. The average EV, $56,000. The federal EV tax credit, $7,500, expired last September, which pushed real prices up further. Into that market, critics say, Washington banned the affordable option and called it protection. Protection paid for entirely by you, the buyer, in the form of prices that never have to come down. Economists have a name for that, a consumer tax. And they add a nuance to the subsidy story. By CSIS's own accounting, China's per-vehicle support has been shrinking for years, from nearly $14,000 a car in 2018 to under $5,000 by 2023, meaning these companies are increasingly standing on real cost advantages, not just government checks, which makes waiting them out a questionable strategy. The competitive argument bites too. Ford's own CEO drove a Chinese EV for months and called the experience the most humbling thing he'd ever seen. Critics ask whether a wall makes Detroit build that car faster or lets it not bother. Protection with no deadline, they argue, becomes a permanent subsidy paid by consumers to producers. And the climate case? Blocking the cheapest EVs on Earth while trying to electrify the fleet is, at minimum, an awkward pairing. Europe, they note, chose duties of 17% for BYD on top of a 10% base. A speed bump, not a wall, betting that competition plus pressure beats prohibition. Both of those are real arguments made by serious people with real evidence. The tariff question is genuinely contested. Where you land depends on how you weigh jobs, security, prices, and climate. This channel's job was to make sure you heard both cases straight. Verdict's yours. Whatever side you land on, here's what's not debatable. You're shopping in a $50,000 car market either way, and the house wins when you walk in unprepared. The complete driver's defense kit is 82 pages of not unprepared. The dealership negotiation playbook with out-the-door email templates, the used car inspection walk-around, and the finance office trap list. $39, first link in the description. In this market, leverage is the only discount left. So what actually happens when Chinese EVs enter a market? We don't have to guess. The experiment is running on 4 continents. Europe, behind that 17% speed bump. BYD registrations up 269% last year to 187,000 cars. And in April of last year, BYD outsold Tesla in monthly European EV registrations for the first time. Chinese brands overall crossed 5% of the whole European market. Mexico. China-made vehicles took roughly 1 in 5 sales last year, and in the first 5 months of this year, that number hit 28%. Brazil. This April, BYD topped the entire monthly sales chart, every brand, gas included, a first for any Chinese automaker anywhere in the Americas, while holding around 3/4 of Brazil's EV market from its brand new local factory. Australia, sales up 156%, passed Tesla in monthly EVs. Thailand, Chinese brands hold roughly 85% of the EV market. Read that 2 ways because both are true. If you're a consumer, everywhere these cars arrive, people buy them enthusiastically, which tells you the product is real. If you're a domestic automaker, everywhere these cars arrive, incumbents bleed share at speed, which tells you the extinction level warnings aren't paranoia either. The same data powers both sides of the debate you just heard. That's why this fight is genuinely hard. And now the promise from minute 1, the math out loud. What would a Seagull actually cost in your driveway? Start at $10,300. Apply the 100% tariff, $20,600. Add the 2.5% duty and the 25% auto tariff, plus shipping and compliance, and credible estimates, land the car around $26,000 or $27,000 before a dealer touches it. And here's the reveal, inside the reveal. Even if every tariff vanished tomorrow, the $10,000 American Seagull still wouldn't exist. Federalizing it, crash programs, US spec hardware, homologation, pushes it up thousands more. Want proof instead of projection? Look where it's already been legalized. In Europe, fully homologated, the same car sells for about $26,700. In Mexico, about $21,000. So the fantasy dissolves in both directions. To the outraged, no, Washington did not take a $10,000 car from you. Physics, regulation, and freight were always going to make it a high teens to 20s car here. And to the dismissive, no, that doesn't close the case. Because a $21,000 Seagull with a blade battery would still undercut the cheapest EV America currently sells by $8,000, and the average one by $35,000. The honest headline was never $10,000 car banned. It's the $20,000 EV era is real everywhere except here. And that's a policy choice with reasons on both sides. That's the version nobody's thumbnail tells you. This is Shop-Proof Garage, so we end with what you do about it in this market, this year. If you want a cheap EV in America today, the real menu, the new Chevy Bolt at $28,995. Currently, the cheapest new EV in the country, the Nissan Leaf around $31,500. The Bezos-backed Slate pickup promising $24,950 late this year, promising being the operative word until deliveries happen. And the actual value play, used. Used EV listings are averaging around $36,000, but used Bolts, Leafs, and Model 3s sit well under that. And with the tax credits gone since September, automakers are discounting hard. EV incentives are running around 13% of transaction price, roughly $7,300 a car. Translation: post-credit panic made dealers negotiable. That's your leverage. Use the playbook. One skill before you buy any used EV. Check the battery like you'd compression test an engine. Get the state of health readout, ask for the fast charging history, and price the car against its real remaining range. That's the used EV chapter of the inspection guide. And now, Loop 3, the twist ending. You can't buy the Chinese car. But open the spec sheet on American EVs and look at the battery line. The standard range Tesla Model 3 sold here has used lithium iron phosphate cells from CATL, a Chinese battery giant. The Ford Mustang Mach-E standard range, CATL cells. Ford licenses CATL technology for its Michigan battery plant. GM has arranged CATL imports too. Sit with that irony for a second. The wall keeps out the Chinese car, while the Chinese battery rides in on American badges, because right now, nobody on Earth makes cheap LFP cells at scale like China does. Whatever the policy intends, the supply chain has already voted. That's not an argument for either side. It's just the fact both sides have to live with. Myth kill, 6 rounds. Myth, you can import 1 through Mexico. Kill, U.S. tariffs apply at our border regardless. Mexico's own China tariff just went to 50%, and the connected vehicle rule bars it anyway. Myth, it's just tariffs. Pay them and drive. Kill, the software ban from model year 2027 and the missing crash certification are 2 more locked doors money doesn't open. Myth, Chinese EVs are all junk. Kill, a former GM chief engineer tore one down and called it a clarion call. Junk doesn't scare Detroit. Myth, Chinese EVs are all superior and perfectly safe. Kill, the Seagull has never faced a U.S. crash test, never tested cuts both ways. No pass, no fail, no claim. Myth, Canada's the loophole. Kill, Canada lowered its own tariff under a quota for Canadians. U.S. registration is a separate wall still standing. Myth, without tariffs, it'd be 10 grand here. Kill, homologated versions already sell for $21,000 in Mexico and $26,700 in Europe. The $10,000 American Seagull never existed, even in the no-tariff universe. Clinic, the questions everyone's asking, straight answers. Why is my EV 50 grand when China has $10,000 ones? 4 stacked reasons. Tariffs, no cheap EV competition to force prices down, U.S. scale labor and compliance costs, and, since September, no federal credit softening the sticker. Some of that is policy, some is genuine cost. Now you know which is which. Will the tariffs ever drop? Unknowable, honestly. What's knowable? They survived this year's Supreme Court tariff ruling untouched. Both political parties have backed China EV restrictions, and one senator has proposed adding $20,000 per car on top. The near-term direction has been up, not down. Policy as of today, pinned comment gets updates. Could BYD just build a factory in Texas and sell here? Under current rules, no. The connected vehicle rule reaches China-linked manufacturers even for U.S.-assembled cars from model year 2027. And BYD says it isn't trying. Is the Seagull actually safe? The imported unit had 6 airbags and stability control, and the teardown found genuine engineering. But U.S. crash performance is untested and unknown. Anyone confident either way is selling you something. Should I wait for cheap Chinese EVs before buying? Waiting for a policy reversal with no timeline is not a plan. If you need a car, today's leverage, heavy post-credit discounting on the EVs actually here, is real and measurable. Buy the discount that exists, not the car that doesn't. Are the Chinese batteries in American EVs a problem? Their proven chemistry, LFP, is durable, stable, and cheap. It's why automakers want it. The debate about supply chain dependence is real and political. The cells themselves have a strong track record. 2 different questions. Keep them separate. Is the spying fear real or just politics? Both sides deserve their sentence here. What's factual? Modern connected cars, every brand, collect location, camera, microphone, and driving data, and whoever controls the software controls that pipe. That's the Commerce Department's stated concern, and it's why the rule targets software, not steel. What's contested? Whether Chinese consumer cars specifically would be used that way, which is a judgment about intent, not a documented event. So the technical capability is real and applies to all connected cars. The threat assessment is where the two sides split. Hold both facts at once, and you understand the rule better than most of the people arguing about it. Wait, aren't some Chinese cars already sold here? What about Volvo and Polestar? Sharp question, and yes, Volvo and Polestar are both owned by China's Geely, and they sell in America today. Some models even built in South Carolina, which is exactly why the connected vehicle rule is a bigger story than the tariffs. It targets China-linked software and manufacturers, regardless of where the car is bolted together, starting model year 2027. Those companies have publicly raised exactly this concern, and how the rule ultimately treats them is one of the genuinely unresolved threads in this story. If you own or want one, that's a policy thread worth watching. Pinned comment gets updates. Why doesn't America just subsidize its own $10,000 EV instead of blocking China's? Honest answer, it tried a version of that. The tax credits were the subsidy, and they're gone as of last September. Building a profitable, ultra-cheap EV also requires the thing BYD spent 20 years assembling. Owning your own battery plant, chip supply, and vertically integrated factory at colossal scale. Slate's $25,000 truck and Ford's low-cost skunkworks platform are the American attempts at that answer. Whether policy should do more is, say it with me, a debate with two real sides. Is BYD even profitable, or is it all subsidies? Documented answer: both things are true. CSIS documented $230 billion in state support over 15 years, and Karasoff's teardown concluded the Seagull is genuinely engineered to be built at its price. Subsidies built the machine. The machine now runs. That's exactly why this is hard. One breath, whole story. The $10,000 Seagull is real. 500,000 sold last year, teardown verified quality, from the company that outsold Tesla. It's kept out by three walls: 100% plus tariff stack, a connected vehicle software ban from model year 2027, and crash standards it's never been tested against. Honest math, even tariff-free, it's a roughly $20,000 car here, which would still undercut everything we've got. The debate, jobs and security versus prices and competition, is real on both sides. The data from Europe, Mexico, and Brazil feeds both arguments. Your move in the meantime, the discounted EVs actually on American lots, a battery health check before any used one, and the negotiation playbook, because in a protected market, leverage is the only discount left. That playbook's in the driver's defense kit, $39, first link below. The most interesting car in America is one you'll never see at a dealership, and now you understand exactly why from every side of the argument. Whether that wall stands, falls, or gets a door cut into it over the next few years, you'll be one of the few people who actually understood what it was made of. Now you know what they know. Drive smart out there. Buying in this market anyway? The used car and engine buying playlist is on your screen. Start with the 5 engines mechanics say to walk away from.